Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of Liberal White Dudes. I am Andrew,
I'm Jared.
I'm AJ.
and we are Liberal White Dudes. We are once again
Indeed.
not going to be talking about something specific that isn't related to something that happened between our last episode and now.
We can't seem to do that at this point.
The news cycles are ridiculous, the amount of things that happen on a day-to-day basis. I can confirm that as we sit here, 12th of January, 6 p.m. Pacific time, Donald Trump is still president of the United States somehow.
Yeah, it seems like that shouldn't be the case at this point, but you know, we're here, we're living.
I mean, I feel like French Revolution, Louis XVI, he was still king after they... No, wait, no.
No,
they
yeah,
beheaded
no.
him in the town square. I'm remembering
Yeah.
that all wrong.
Yeah, that is true. That's what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but I have to say, I think, short of obviously invoking the 25th Amendment, which I know we're going to touch on, or him straight up resigning, obviously, I think House Democrats are moving as quickly as they can to get him out of office. Even on the short timeline, they are still.
This would have required some severe step up from Mike Pence.
From Mike, exactly.
He would have had to have,
Yeah.
I mean, Donald Trump would have to go to the hospital and have a procedure to have Pence removed.
Right, exactly.
Hard
That'd be the first
rectally.
step. That's the first step.
Rectally,
Yeah.
yes.
But yeah, I mean, short of that, there's no, there's no path to him not being president even after the incitement of a coup. It's so weird. I mean, we're all sitting around rereading the rules.
Yeah.
How many times this last 4 years have we spent rereading the rule? Isn't this against the rules?
Yeah, I mean, they put up a gallows for Mike Pence specifically,
And chanted, "Hang Mike
and
Pence."
chanted they wanted to hang him, and then he's just like,
And
it's
reportedly, Donald Trump never reached out to him while he was in his secure location, and then they didn't speak for days afterward. And I gotta say, with Mike Pence's fiery demeanor coming back that evening to resume, I honestly thought the honeymoon was over.
Yeah.
But apparently it
mean,
lives
it
on.
should be.
That hot romance just gets steamier apparently. Like you think.
Yeah.
There must be something else. There must be
pretended
something
to
else
be
about
my
it.
dad and you don't love me, and Don Jr. and Eric and all them are like, you see how it
Yeah.
feels.
Hey, you understand.
Right.
You're in on
Right.
the joke now.
That's the
They've
cold
got this
shoulder.
they've got this very toxic, volatile relationship, I guess. And,
Yeah, I mean,
Pence is there for it, man. He's here for he doesn't care, I guess.
It must be the sex, It must be the sex.
he probably turned over damning tapes at the beginning of the presidency as part of the loyalty test and that whole thing. Basically what Trump was
Like it's
asking Comey
Nexium
for.
or something.
Yeah, just like, we need something on you to ensure
some
your
blackmail.
loyalty, because we're not going to just take your word for it, because we're all liars. So we assume
Yeah.
you are. Since you mentioned the 25th, and there's breaking news on that front, they've been debating it on the House floor, and Mike Pence sent a letter to Nancy Pelosi that said, yeah, I'm not doing that.
He's not doing that, right? We knew he wouldn't.
Yeah.
That was
We knew he
pretty good.
wouldn't.
I feel like those steps would have started getting taken a lot sooner if he had any intention to do it.
Yeah.
Because like you said, at this point, it's insane that Donald Trump is still the president. That's ridiculous. So obviously, if Mike Pence had a shred, of honor in this point in his office, or in any way actually, believed that, I think steps already would have been taken. So I was pretty confident he wasn't going to do it, obviously.
Yeah, the ball hasn't been rolling. He hasn't been rolling
Yeah.
his balls. And even as the number of votes that
Yeah.
he needs continue to dwindle as people quit this administration, he still wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
Some key points of that letter, he said Democrats in the House are trying to, quote, play political games.
Wow.
It's like,
Government?
yeah,
Jesus.
but also, that's not what this is. This isn't just some
Right.
sort of maneuver. The Republicans,
No.
every time they open their mouth, seem to not grasp the weight and the gravity of what happened last Wednesday. I don't know how to have it be more clear. Now, yes, it is easy to look at the guy in the horns and the face paint, who's currently starving. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, he's
Yes.
hunger striking.
His hunger strike. Talk about the ultimate damn snowflake.
Yes.
By the way,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw Don Lemon go off on CNN about that guy.
I didn't.
But Don Lemon, CNN's Don Lemon is apparently out of fucks to give. And he kind of went off on that.
Yeah, I mean, that guy.
It's a little pathetic at this point.
It's easy. Yeah, it's easy to look at that guy and make the whole thing kind of ridiculous, right? But every time somebody heads down that road, I like to remind them the two guys who were in full armor, plate, carrying zip ties, looking for Congress people. You know, their intention there is very clear. You know, they are ready for war and taking prisoners.
Yeah, it's literally terrorism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just textbook terrorism.
What they're wearing and what they're doing, there's no ambiguity there for me. What the guy grabbing the podium was doing, like, you know, like, hey, I'm just stealing federal property inside of the Capitol building I'm not supposed to be in. Like, that guy, I get it. You know, poke fun at him and then throw him in jail. But understand the gravity of those other folks. Of the policemen being beat to death. You know, one more person has died in this than died at Benghazi.
Right. And then linking it back to comments from Ted Cruz. That day. Comments from Trump Jr. that day. And, of course, comments from Donald Trump literally moments prior to this essentially starting.
Yeah.
Those
he was there with them,
you
like he said, right?
He was totally there. Yeah, doing his, much like he was at Mar-a-Lago with Vanilla Ice and Rudy Giuliani.
Can we say he was there in spirit?
Yes, part.
Yeah,
definitely true. He was definitely there in spirit.
Yes, his cult, his
creepy, gross spirit.
Yes.
Another quote from the Mike Pence letter: "It would set a terrible precedent," which I assume he means it would set the precedent of people having consequences for their actions, which obviously.
Apparently. Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to run roughshod over much of Washington if we're going to start having consequences.
Start holding people to their word and making people responsible for things? Come on.
Yeah.
Guys, do you have any idea how much paperwork we're talking about for just one of those?
Yeah. Let's not head down that path.
Let's not go down that dangerous, slippery slope, guys, of holding people accountable.
Set a terrible precedent.
Yeah, seditious and treasonous acts. I mean, just imagine if every time there was a breach of the Capitol, an attack on the Capitol, and policemen were killed, and various other participants were killed, people were held accountable for that. For me, I can't imagine it.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
It's a bit of a no-brainer at this point, and I've heard, AOC's comments on this about it, where people are just like, well, what about all these calls to heal and unity? She's like, okay, there can't be healing and unity unless there's accountability to the people that are responsible for an attack on our democracy.
Step one.
Like, are you kidding me right now? That's step one in the healing process. First step in solving a problem is admitting you have the fucking problem. Yeah. We have the problem. We've identified the problem. So, we want to heal. We want to unify, but we want to hold the people responsible accountable. And anybody who doesn't is on their side and should also be held accountable.
I will say I am one to hold a grudge in my personal life. Anybody who knows me knows that to be true. And I will also say that I don't forgive anybody who doesn't apologize. That takes bigger people than me.
Same.
It's just I can apologize to you if you're sorry. If you're not sorry, I just don't. We're not in this together where there's some sort of, everything's okay.
And for me, it's not even that I need, I don't even need an express apology all the time, but just admitting that you did the thing that you did at a bare minimum, and call it a coup. That's what it was. That's what you were trying to do. Don't be shy about it. Just admit it.
Kind of sidebars into Trump's comments today, where he essentially doubled down.
Yeah.
Essentially, you know what I mean? Obviously, he was careful in his comments. They were pretty, but at the same time, he didn't admit again that he had anything to do with it, of course, and then just kind of went all in on the impeachment. But essentially, just kind of doubled down on his position that what he said was fine, and he, we don't want violence.
Yeah.
Never want violence.
Yeah. He's like, they've dissected this speech and they found nothing wrong. And I was like, what?
Well, except for the
Except
parts
for
where you
everything.
cited violence.
What are you talking about? Because it's been on loop. That speech has been on loop. You can't avoid it now because of all of the horrible crap that you said. And then you doubled down like right after the insurrection. Even in your prepared remarks, you still couldn't. When he says he disagrees with the outcome of the election. That was one of those things I kind of wanted to point out too. It's like it's not. There's so much in the last 4 years that's been said on agree and disagree that it's facts.
Yeah, feels over reals, man. People are just so convinced that if they just feel a certain way about it, and they just that's right. It's like, oh no, Trump feels that way about it. So he's right. That's how we know.
Like, that's my truth. There was a guy who said, did he get 75 million votes? I feel like he got 85 million votes. And then he feels like that's a counter argument to the counting of votes.
Like a court-worthy, like this should be investigated.
Yeah.
Because I feel that way.
Did you hear that? I just came up with more evidence. Evidence that Trump won. My evidence is I feel like there were 10 million more votes than they counted. That's my evidence.
Yeah. I don't understand why people consider that to be, like the people that are just so dead set on not believing things that are true. They just don't care about the facts if they don't agree with them. It's like, no, hold on. We counted the votes, but we counted them wrong, and we didn't count enough of the Donald Trump ones. We know because Trump didn't win, and that sucks for me because I wanted him to.
So that's how we know.
Yeah,
that's how we know.
How we know is because it's disappointing to me in some way.
I saw a clip today of Jordan Klepper of The Daily Show interviewing Trump supporters. He was there that day.
All his interviews are gold.
Yeah, always, and he's always great. Man, kudos to him and his team, but for the gold that they get out there at those events. But he was interviewing a pair of Trump supporters and saying, so you think these wild, ridiculous things are true, and they're just like, oh yeah, absolutely, anything is possible. And he's just like, how about a president who has never received more than a 50% approval rating not getting half the country to vote for him? They're like, no. He's like, you don't think that's possible? Like, you think all these are like, okay, like, and that's where we're at. That's where you're at with Trump supporters. That right there. That's where you're at.
Lizard people, yeah.
Sure.
Votes being counted 3 times and being the same number.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Pizza parlor pedophile ring featuring Tom Hanks. You bet.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
On board. Yeah, that is a thing.
That's a thing I'm convinced about. But you're telling me that we counted votes and those votes weren't for the candidate I wanted? Yeah. Now hold on. Hold yourself.
I heard an interview today on NPR with the CEO of Dominion, who's suing Sidney Powell for $1.3 billion.
Yep.
Yes.
And one of their questions was, this is a sidebar, but one of their questions was, obviously Sidney Powell's a private citizen who doesn't have $1 billion. So, and really the reason for the high amount was really because they want this to go to trial, because it's not about the money for Dominion voting systems. It's really about the tarnish of their reputation. But he was just discussing a little bit about kind of he's the CEO of the company. And first of all, he's talking about the 300 families that rely on that company because they have 300 employees that work there that have received nothing but death threats and just doing their damn jobs. And he's like, we're bipartisan. We produce technology that counts paper votes.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
Thing to us is that the votes are counted and counted correctly.
That's it.
That's our drive.
Yeah, he's like, and with that, there were 3 hand counts of these millions of votes in Georgia specifically.
Yeah,
they came out right the same time every time. So at some point, it's just like, what are we exactly talking about here?
Yeah. You wanted more people to have voted for Donald Trump in this election than voted for Joe Biden. And then you also wanted them to have done that in ways that they were in, gerrymandered districts and all that kind of thing and have it come out your way. It didn't.
And it didn't.
It just didn't.
That's yeah.
So,
it just didn't.
I mean,
guys.
you continue to want that. I did get a little hope from the military joint chiefs. I don't know if anybody else caught that press conference and the things that they were saying, but they used the word sedition. They used the word insurrection. And the FBI came out and said that people are going to be shocked with the depth and breadth of this investigation that we are undertaking as far as the riots at the Capitol. And I was like,
Wow.
Yeah.
it makes me hopeful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
once we replace,
Cautiously optimistic about that.
some of the loyalists and some of the, trumpets that he has sort of, peppered his administration with. And once we start putting people into positions that have been vacated since the beginning of his presidency, fill out important places in the State Department and all these places so we can get back to having, foreign relations of some kind and those types of things.
Yeah. Have people that like us around the globe, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe for a while.
Potentially, someone might be able to, wake up Ben Carson and shuffle him out of the office, so someone can get in there and actually do the job.
Yep. Hey Ben. Yeah. It's January 21st. You're not supposed to still be here.
Sweet. He's like,
I get
already?
to take this desk with me?
Kind of paid for it.
Yeah.
I don't
know. Is it?
But you didn't.
Is this
That's
tacky? I don't know.
I'm gonna take it.
I don't really like it. I'm just gonna take it. Whatever.
I'm just gonna take it. Whatever.
I've already got the
They're like, you know
off.
what? Just take it. They're like, you know what? Take it. Just get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Leave, please. Leave, please.
If that's the least amount of damage you can do on
it.
your way out, then take the desk. Yeah. So, I do have some hope about the way that goes. And for those that don't know, Horns guy is in custody. Other fur guy is in custody. Both zip tie guys are in custody. Lectern holding guy is in custody. So
Molotov cocktail guy is in custody.
Yes.
The guy who had his feet up on Pelosi's desk, that guy's in custody as well.
Yeah.
11 improvised explosive devices in his truck guy is in custody. So they are picking people up. I don't know if Elizabeth from Knoxville's in custody.
Elizabeth. Push me out, mace me.
And your name is
Elizabeth.
And you're from where? Okay, cool. We'll see you in a couple days on Cops. I'm on Cops. Cori Bush, who is the new freshman congresswoman from Missouri's 1st District, is pushing to, which includes St. Louis, pushing to expel all members of Congress who still, in the wake of the coup, voted for against the Electoral College.
Right.
So,
I agree with that. That was your last opportunity to not put your name on that team's frickin' roster. That was it.
Yep.
If there was ever a time to be like, all this bullshit, Lindsey Graham would be like, enough is enough, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay. If there was ever a time to be like, enough is enough with Trump, it was that vote. If you couldn't do that, you're on that team.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
We're in the wake of, you had to run for your lives, essentially. Now, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, hey, these guys wouldn't do anything to me because I'm clearly on their team, right? And you can tell in some of the photos that you see, in some of the ways that they're hunkering down, that Republicans aren't concerned, as concerned as those who may, have, Nancy Pelosi's face or AOC's views or,
or had been a loyalist in every aspect of this administration up to the very moment where your ceremonial position forced you to not do what Trump wanted, and then suddenly they wanted to hang you. So there's that,
It just,
apparently that's all that took for them to turn on Mike Pence. So
or Lindsey Graham. I mean, they're yelling at him, calling him a traitor. The fine political line you kind of have to walk in this country, where both sides of the aisle call you a traitor. I mean, kudos to Lindsey Graham.
Yeah,
that
right.
guy's a mastermind. It's really hard to get both sides to hate you, and somehow he's done it. That's like the pinnacle of politics.
It's like being a really bad. I think he's just bad at grifting. I think that's what it is. He just was like, wait, hold on, this grift actually bothers me morally.
a truly rare and beautiful creature is the universally hated politician
Yeah.
because being able to, like you said, walk in that area where you can't please anybody.
Yeah, because I hate Mitch McConnell, but he has said some things that I've enjoyed, and he has not said how he will rule on the pending impeachment.
No.
You know,
Insiders suggest that he's for it.
Yeah, there was some
I saw a report about
his
that.
phrasing.
they want to cut Trump and everyone related to him loose, so that they can start
He's I mean,
the Patriot Party.
Patriot.
That's
Party.
right.
Patriot Party.
Yeah, I mean, Mitch McConnell, like a lot of Republicans, is going to claim to be, a real Republican loyalist, and they're going to want to pretend like, like a lot of others, that they didn't really necessarily want to go along with Trump. It was always
it didn't line up behind him
party.
for 4 years.
Yeah, right. And it's like, really? Okay.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That stink is on your record forever, man.
Damn right.
For the next couple of years of your life.
And for Ted Cruz, we tie it around him like a cinder block, and he is one who has, he was one of the who voted for, against the certifying the electoral college results. He is, out there pretending to be someone of value. I forget who it was who said this, but they were like, I like Ted Cruz more than most of my colleagues, and I hate Ted Cruz.
That's a good line.
It is.
That's fantastic. That's a retweet right there.
Yep.
That's solid.
One of the things that's happened recently too was the Parler shutdown, right? That they got kicked off all their platforms, so all those crazies.
Did that happen between Saturday and now?
I think so.
Have.
Yeah, I think it was in the last couple of days, so that the fascist circle jerk could stop happening, basically.
Yep, they're going to court. So,
yeah,
obviously.
Yeah,
we knew they would.
And it seems like they may have found a home, the same home that another application, which I'm not going to name check on this show, that is also, right wing.
Total garbage.
Yeah, just a
and
dumpster fire.
Total trash.
The other thing they've been saying in the news, is that it's a favorite of right wing folks and conservative folks, and I'm just like, no.
My God, right? Yeah.
Stop.
I can't believe.
Stop. I know some right-wing folks and conservative folks who, while they have not been very vocal, like they should be, feel distant from Trumpers.
Yeah. Because you should.
I know a lot of conservatives that are not white supremacists. That is a faction that exists.
Yeah, or Nazis.
Believe it or not.
Yeah. Who wouldn't feel comfortable in public in a Camp Auschwitz shirt.
Right. Yeah, the people, especially stuff like that. Yeah. If you're at the Capitol and there's people with like the 6 million wasn't enough T-shirts, it's like, how can you feel like you're on the right side? How is it possible that you, other than being a Nazi, how can you walk alongside Nazis and be like, yeah, I'm doing the right thing historically? Just look back to. Well, maybe don't look back because that's bad for me. But if you pay attention now,
a pillar of the Republican platform is being pro-Israel. That's another sort of like weird thing we've got going on, where it's like
mixture of pro-Israel and anti-Semitism.
Yeah, you've got I mean, what? Okay, I love Israel. Hate Jews though. Am I right?
Right?
No, I mean because conservatives, are anti. Palestinian state and Palestinian rights and all that. So how you've got to be if your big thing it's so big that you're wearing those kind of shirts and stuff.
Right.
Not that I want them on the liberal side, but
no, not at all.
I mean, obviously, we also don't hate Jews.
Yeah,
right.
So I don't know. Where. I guess I don't know where you go when you hate Jews.
That's a good point. Yeah, there's not really a good side for you.
I mean,
yeah, there's not really a good space for you if you're a Nazi. I think the reason that they tend on the other side is because those are the people that are most likely to fall into Nazism.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why. Because you can be
affected
pro-Israel and then just kind of like,
yeah,
eventually maybe you're anti-Israel at a certain point.
Yeah. Well, also a lot of it can stem from, certainly when it comes to, I think the way Trump has presented it during his administration and, at his rallies and things, a lot of it stems from, white nationalism, not so much Israel. It starts with that's faux patriotism, this false sense of nationalism that this is what's right for our country. Like, this is what's right for Americans. Like, I am doing the right thing. Like, that's why they believe they're doing the right thing, because it starts with that, and but I know conservatives that attended, Black Lives Matter protests. So,
Sure.
it certainly is not, those two things don't have to always coincide.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing with people saying, it's a right-wing platform and it's a conservative platform for Parler. It's like that is, first off, not accurate from my assessment of right-wingers and conservatives. But
Right.
from my second assessment is that that's not the reason they're being shut down either. So
No.
it plays into the false
Yeah.
narrative that of this freedom of speech
Right.
thing, which is also just off the rails wrong, right?
It's such a
It
dumb
shows
argument that people make all the time. People don't understand what that
misunderstanding.
means.
Yeah.
Especially from the private industry party, the people who love private business and private, like, no regulated private business stuff. It's like, really?
Right.
You don't understand that this is how businesses operate?
Yeah.
Are you
And
serious?
There absolutely needs to be a conversation of whether or not Facebook and Twitter and Amazon and Google, as a collective big tech, should be able to have Chinese level censorship. And we can have that conversation after people stop storming the Capitol. But,
Right.
Yeah.
are talking about assassinating people and all that.
I feel the exact same way. I don't think there's not any truth to the idea that big tech getting together and making decisions like that can't be problematic.
Yeah.
I agree there's a conversation there to have. I think we all should agree that. Anybody that's a fan, in favor of the free press should want to have a conversation about that. But like you said, after we hold the people that stormed the Capitol accountable.
After we excise the Nazis,
Right.
after we excise the fascists, that part of it has to happen first.
If they
every
had
time.
followed the lead of the White House, where he decided that an organization that's not an organization was a terrorist organization, like it's neither of those two things.
Yeah.
Right.
But he decided an organization
That's
that wasn't an organization would be a terrorist organization, basically setting up a pro-fascism.
Yeah. Oh, it's so bad.
When he decided on that, if big tech had decided that anyone who claimed to be anti-fascist was suddenly, deplatformed, that would have been scary. I mean, very glad that, being a Black Lives Matter member didn't suddenly become a reason to become deplatformed. It is a slippery slope. They've been on the right side of it as far as I'm concerned every time. And maybe that's, just because they follow things like just general human decency. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like common
I was
sense.
thinking about something.
But will they always,
Well, I was thinking about something recently, and I don't know how much this could potentially play into it, but for my job, I have a regular job. I don't get paid for this as much as you think.
Less than I do.
That's true. But for my other job, recently had to take some sexual harassment courses, like you do every couple of years. And there was something they talked about in that, which anyone who's taken a sexual harassment course will remember. And it's basically the line of basically what a reasonable person would accept. Because there's all these gray areas when it comes to harassment and assault, and things like that in the workplace, and what really constitutes that. And they're like, eventually they had to get together and say, we need to decide what reasonable people would consider not great behavior.
Yeah.
And we have to make a line here. And it's something almost like that, where it's like some of these companies like Facebook and Twitter have made these decisions that are like, look, we have to look at it from what a reasonable person should expect from us. Okay, we get that there are extreme views out there and people that want to be able to voice those, but we have to measure this at some point by what reasonable people expect, So something like that would maybe have to be implemented.
There was a video recently. It was a conservative, one of the right-wing talking heads, so I will not name because I don't want you to know them. But she does videos or whatever.
She narrows it down.
It does, and it's about and it was about her own censorship, because I think something about some of her content was being, and basically her whole video was about fact checkers and the fact that Facebook's fact checkers were somehow like overrun by like Chinese, like it was just this whole spiraling
deep state
thing.
Conspiracy.
Really? Yeah. Like Facebook was paying a company that was Chinese to look over your individual tweets or Facebook posts and then tearing them down if that's what they do. And
I'm gonna go on a limb and say it was probably Hugo Chavez and Dominion voting too.
As part of it.
You see the web? Do you see this happening?
And they're, the transgender penguins and the whole,
that. I was just gonna say, don't forget them coming in from see this web that they're weaving.
The web of Hugo Chavez and
Chinese. I mean, there's nothing. I get the ire that Republicans in general and talk show hosts in general feel towards fact checkers.
Yeah, of because what you say is wrong. But it wasn't even like one of the things is like I can see an argument like if you feel like the fact checkers stuff is. Maybe they're super partisan, whatever. And I feel like there's an argument to be made there, right? If there's like, hey, they're being, they're fact checking things and they're like, no, this isn't actually. But it wasn't like she was like upset about that. She was upset about the fact they were fact checking them at all. She's like, they kept putting disclaimers on my information. They kept saying that my argument was disputed.
Yeah, it's like it's not an argument. That's what argument. You're just against reality. You're saying things that aren't true.
Right. You're just being factually inaccurate.
We welcome fact checkers on this show because if we get something wrong too, we want the opportunity to correct it.
Yeah, we want to know.
We would want to know if we got something wrong. That is a direct opposite of any Republican. They do not want to know when they've said something wrong because it's either intentional or accidental, and either way they mean it.
And either way they mean it, and they don't want to admit it.
Either way, they meant to say that. That's what they said. They said it. They'll say it again. Said it one more time.
Yeah.
Cafefe.
So a congresswoman got COVID when they hunkered down during the attack, likely from one of her colleagues who refused to wear a mask while they were hunkered down. They should trace that. I mean, figure out who gave it to her, and there should be repercussions for that kind of irresponsible, terrible behavior.
Agreed.
I have to remind everyone, and I saw this post on Twitter. It's like, can we get through this impeachment thing so I can get back to my, horrendous, debilitating pandemic? It's like, can we get back to the other bad news? And Greta Thunberg, is that
what you're talking about?
Yeah.
The climate activist, Greta.
Yes.
The climate activist, yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Greta Thunberg,
she recently turned 18, and so she, did a post about it. And she was wearing a Flat Mars Society shirt. I thought that was funny.
That is great.
Yeah.
Solid.
But I also saw it as it was promoted, and I was like, climate change.
Yeah. another
There's something to think about, worry about. I don't know.
Consider.
Yeah, it's just so much, It makes you wonder.
It's like we were saying earlier. It's like it'll be nice when we get some people in here doing their jobs, the president included. Not that he was doing his job much these last 4 years, but if he ever checked out, it was in the last 4 months. So it's we are
multiple days now of who's running the country.
I've seen multiple tweets of that where they're like at every government handle, just like, can someone like say something?
Yeah.
Who's in charge right now?
Anybody say something, because
his first public comments today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on at the Department of Transportation or Department of Education or any of those places where people quit?
Yeah, where people just left.
we don't have a Secretary of Education. She quit weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
what?
So my kids are
who's running that now?
I don't know.
Who's running that now?
Sure.
Who's running that now?
We don't know.
If nobody
steps up. We'll get back to you on that. We don't know.
We'll see soon, I guess. Cabinet members. There's a page of the State Department, I think. There was a page, Donald Trump's biography. There was I don't know where this came from, and I think they fixed it, but it was basically like on the 11th, they were like his term ends on the 11th. There was someone that just ended
basically that
page.
day, and it ended that day,
And it was up for very long. It was up for a very long time. Like it was it was strangely long. I was like, man, somebody needs to get on top of that. And let's, this is the thing. In which case, sick. But we all know that it's not how that works.
The State Department has been gutted. I mean, there's so many positions there that were let go and not filled, and of course, there's been a turnover at the top. This is
and a mass exodus at the end of the term.
Yeah, and him saying America first. What he meant was, I'm not going to think about foreign nations at all while I'm here
Yeah.
pretending to be president.
Right.
I don't want to deal with daily briefings. I don't want to hear about some country that I've never heard of and can't spell.
Yeah.
Just get that shit off my desk. Like what? Myanmar? Hey, what? Who's ever even heard of that? He would probably
Yeah,
has
Something
said
he
so
has-
many times in his presidency. Nobody's ever even heard of it. It's like,
Yeah.
You know who should have
have-
heard of it?
The
President of the United
president.
The
States.
goddamn
the-
president.
God
bare
damn
minimum.
it! Don't say that shit out loud. Like even
Yeah.
like in those like yelling over the helicopter interviews he would do, he would say stuff like that. It's like nobody's ever even heard of it, and everybody's quick to like, you know, you can just imagine being a reporter there, looking at another.
Yeah.
Heard of
Nobody.
that.
I've.
You've also heard of it? Okay, it's not just
If we've heard of it,
we've all
how
heard
is-
of it, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. How are
My
we
favorite
more
actor-
equipped for this?
My favorite after that is always the press secretary coming out and being like, the president obviously knows. They were just, you know, he was just, you took it out of context.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he knows that country. Anyways,
There-
next question.
There's things
What?
too. There's like I think it was during the Clinton debates when he was up on stage where he has that auto like one way or like full end of the spectrum statement and then has to walk it back. Like he was like, I don't know anything about Russia. And he's like I don't know Russia. And he's like, well, I know Russia, but like he like says that out loud. I was like, man, at least think about what you're saying before you say it. If you're like, I don't know Russia. Well, I know Russia. It's like, all right, dude. Like, what even?
It's like, oh, we know you do.
I know that I would have trouble, knowing every country in the world and who their current leader was, and then also, who all of our ambassadors were. I mean, there's a lot of information, right, to being the president of the United States, and that.
Sure.
But just the list of the countries in the world and generally where they're situated.
Yeah. Or
I
maybe
feel
at the
like
very
that's-
least showing an interest in knowing that, even if
Yeah.
you're
Get some
even if you're
freaking
like
flashcards. They exist. Like,
Yeah, my index cards. I've got plenty. Some over here. If you need index cards, I'll mail them
probably
to you.
$5
FedEx.
or less. You can have
yeah.
index cards of every country at the name of it on the back, and
Yeah.
then just have.
Maybe a little picture.
Somebody-
Maybe a little picture.
I mean,
of what it
Jared
looks
could
like,
run
give
that
an
for
idea.
you, right?
Yeah,
Jared,
I
just
wish
got
like-
that.
I wish we'd thought of it sooner. We could have sent them to him. A couple
Something
years
I'm
ago.
equipped. Things I'm equipped to do. Sit there, teach you the state. Like, just do this.
Yeah.
Just go
He
through
knows
countries.
like 6 countries. He knows U.S., China, Russia, Canada, Mexico, and who gives a shit. Like those are his
Yeah.
the 6 countries that
Probably-
he knows.
Probably Venezuela now after Dominion.
You
After
probably
the voter
added.
fraud.
Yeah, probably added Venezuela to that list.
But but it's important to note the first time he had heard of it or acknowledged it was when someone brought it up 3 months
Yeah.
ago. Like that was the first time.
One of
Oh,
his
North
supporters
Korea.
was like,
Someone-
socialism, you want to end up like Venezuela? And he's like, I don't know, do we? walk
Someone in chat said
walk me
North
through your
Korea as well.
argument real quick.
Him and Kim Jong Un, buddies forever.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
North
yeah, I
Korea.
forgot
Yeah.
North Korea.
Yeah.
Any place with a dictator or despot.
Exactly.
That calls him a dotard.
Yeah.
He's all in. All right. So, hey, that's what's going on. We're going to see the president impeached for the second time tomorrow, for the first time in history.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Oh,
fun.
God.
Going to watch it live. That seems like the kind of thing you watch.
Yeah.
You go,
Get the
hey,
popcorn.
remember when we saw that? That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
What a time to be alive. Jesus.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I do want to apologize real quick to AOC.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Our first topic was actually a really good one for her to talk about because we were going to finally have her tell us what it was like to be rushed out of the chamber. Just ran out of time.
Yeah, just yeah.
It happens.
It happens.
We'll figure it out. We'll plot out a show once just to
Yeah.
get her, in the mix. I am going to give 5 out of 5 figs for impeachment.
Yeah.
Agreed.
ditto. Full
5
send.
out of 5.
I think if ever someone deserved impeachment,
It was this guy.
it
If
was
anybody.
this guy. Twice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Impeachment Deux is the name of the episode. It's French, so it's fucking fancy.
And it just pisses off Trump more because he can't pronounce it or
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll skip right by
Read it.
Yeah.
Probably. Doesn't know what that means.
All right. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to us here on YouTube. and follow us over there on Twitter. And you can follow us here. You can follow us everywhere. We're here
Follow us
every
around.
Tuesday, Thursday,
Here's
and Saturday.
my zip code. You can follow me around.
6 p.m. Pacific time. Thanks, everybody. Liberal white